I just got back from GTC, and I'm convinced that Wall Street does not understand NVIDIA. That's because the key to finding great stocks is understanding a company's products, not just their profits. And after everything I learned, I'm convinced that NVIDIA will be the first company on Earth to hit $5 trillion in market cap. Let me show you why. Your time is valuable, so let's get right into it. This is actually my third time trying to make this video. Here's what happened. NVIDIA has a huge ecosystem of software and hardware that all work together, kind of like a massive puzzle where every single piece matters. And at the conference last week, NVIDIA showed off tons of changes and explained how they all impact the overall AI puzzle. But if I walk you through every innovation, this video would be around 80 minutes long. That was take one. On the flip side, I could have just reacted to Jensen Huang's keynote presentation like everybody else, pointed out what Wall Street analysts are missing by only looking a couple quarters ahead, and called it a day. And to be honest, that was take two. But then why even go to GTC? Why did I spend so much time interviewing NVIDIA's executives and talking to their infrastructure partners and attending expert sessions if none of that is going to turn into value for you, the viewers that got me into the conference in the first place? So for my third try, I just want to answer one simple question. Why does any of this AI stuff even really matter? Because if the picture on the puzzle doesn't matter, then we shouldn't bother understanding the pieces, let alone investing in them. Don't worry, I won't make you wait until the end of the video to get the answer. This is a slide from a GTC panel that I attended by Jonathan Godwin, the CEO of Orbital Materials and the former lead for AI and materials at Google DeepMind.
I think, the history of human development over the past 100 years has almost been the story of discovering these materials.
Each x-axis is time in months, and the y-axis is basically the impact of generative AI on the discovery of new materials in chart 1, the resulting increase in patent filings in chart 2, and the rise in new product prototypes in chart 3. The first 12 months give us a baseline for the average amount of progress in each area, and the next 20 months show the impacts of generative AI. And the impact has been massive. 6 months after adopting AI, the scientific community started discovering a record number of new advanced materials, advancing the state-of-the-art in transistor-based chips, as well as quantum computers, solar cells for energy generation, and solid-state batteries for energy storage, lightweight composites and high-temperature ceramics for huge industries like aerospace and robotics, the same exact industries that we invest in. Just 8 months after adopting generative AI, material scientists were filing a record number of new patents, and by month 17, they were testing a record number of new product prototypes. Now let me point out a few very important things here. First, I only saw this chart because I attended this specific session at the conference in person. That's why doing boots on the ground research is so important, and why I think so many Wall Street analysts still don't understand NVIDIA. Second, there were many more charts like this across many more industry-specific sessions at GTC, not just material science, but gene sequencing and drug discovery, signal processing and communications, computer-aided drafting and product design, physics-based modeling and simulation, movies and video games, and the list goes on and on. Almost every industry is seeing a steep rise in research papers, patents, and prototypes thanks to generative AI. This is what I mean when I say get in early. All of this progress is powered by NVIDIA's Hopper architecture, which is the dominant data center GPU today. But as all of these industry-specific AI models migrate from Hopper to Blackwell and Blackwell Ultra later this year, they'll also move from mostly one-shot responses to reasoning, whether that means thinking step by step, using a mixture of experts model, or something else entirely. And when that happens, we're going to see an explosion of new discoveries, patent filings, prototypes, and eventually market-ready products and services across every industry. So yeah, we're still very early. And third, you'll notice that I haven't said anything about large language models so far. No chatgpt 4.0, no Gemini 2.5, and no DeepSeek R1. I'm talking about things with real impacts in the physical world. The next battery in your phone and processor in your laptop, your next prescription medication, the next car in your garage, and the next movie you see. But the big challenge is that reasoning drastically increases the amount of compute that these AI models take to run at inference time. All that extra thinking takes more tokens, which means more GPU time, which means more power, which means more money.
So now basically it's AIs teaching AIs how to be better AIs. That post-training process is where an enormous amount of innovation is happening right now. A lot of it happened with these reasoning models. And that computation load could be 100 times more than pre-training. And then here comes inference, the reasoning process. Instead of just spewing out an answer, when prompted, it reasons about it. It thinks about how best to answer that question, breaks it down step by step, might even reflect upon it, come up with several versions, pick the best one, and then presents it to you. So the amount of computation that we have to do, even at inference time now, is 100 times more than what we used to do when ChatGPT first came out.
In the long term, 100 times more inference compute means 100 times more overall compute, because most workloads will eventually be inference workloads, kind of like most workloads on Google servers today are user searches as opposed to training the algorithm. That's the big picture when it comes to this generative AI revolution. That's why there needs to be such a big performance jump from Hopper to Blackwell, Blackwell to Rubin, and Rubin to Feynman. That's why we should care about understanding the puzzle pieces that make up this massive AI ecosystem powered by NVIDIA's GPUs. So now that we know the why, let's talk about how NVIDIA is making these huge leaps in performance. During the GTC keynote, Jensen talked a lot about scale up versus scale out.
Distributed computing is about using a whole lot of different computers working together to solve a very large problem. But there's no replacement for scaling up before you scale out. Both are important, but you want to scale up first before you scale out. While scaling up is incredibly hard.
In a nutshell, scaling up means increasing the compute power in a single rack, and scaling out means connecting more racks together without sacrificing overall system performance. The reason that data centers want to scale up first is to make the most out of their power budget while minimizing the total network distance between any two GPUs. Remember, parallel processing is only as fast as the time it takes to get the last answer from the last GPU, and moving data between chips using NVLink is around 10 times faster than moving it between racks with something like InfiniBand. What most Wall Street analysts still don't understand is that when NVIDIA announces a new architecture like Blackwell or Rubin, that actually includes many different chips. The GPU itself, a CPU, a data processing unit or DPU, multiple configurations of NVLink chip-to-chip switches, as well as the InfiniBand and Spectrum-X networking solutions to connect many racks together. Let's go over how all these pieces fit together in a single rack first. I gained almost 100,000 subscribers since the last time I walked through this, so it'll be good to get everyone on the same page. First, Blackwell actually combines two GPU dies into a single chip and connects them with a 10 terabyte per second link so they act like one GPU. NVIDIA designed it this way because the process technology to cram 200 billion transistors on a single die this small simply doesn't exist. The Blackwell Ultra, which comes out in the second half of 2025, and the Rubin GPU coming out in 2026, both have this same two-die design as well. But the Rubin Ultra, which comes out in 2027, connects 4 GPU dies to achieve 100 petaflops of FP4 performance. That means the Rubin Ultra GPU is expected to have around 7 times the training performance versus Blackwell and 22.5 times more inference performance. Said another way, NVIDIA's GPUs are improving at roughly twice the rate of Moore's Law for training and about 3 times Moore's Law for inference. Also, Jensen's presentation compares everything to Blackwell Ultra, but I'm comparing everything to Blackwell since that's what NVIDIA is currently shipping, and I want to stay consistent between videos. Just divide the numbers I'm about to share by about 1.5 to compare them to Blackwell Ultra. Anyway, this is where we start scaling up. The next level is the GB200 superchip, which pairs 2 Blackwell GPUs with 1 Grace CPU. The GB300 superchip uses Blackwell Ultras instead of standard Blackwells, and when NVIDIA starts shipping Vera Rubin, the 88-core ARM-based Vera CPU will replace Grace, and the 2 Rubin GPUs will replace the Blackwells. Either way, the CPU and 2 GPUs are connected via NVLink, which is a chip-to-chip connection with 900 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. Said in English, NVLink is fast enough to move 150 90-minute long 4K movies between chips every single second. 2 of these Grace Blackwell super chips go into one Blackwell compute node, which is one tray in NVIDIA's AI data center racks. The 2 super chips per tray are also connected by NVLink. Today's Blackwell systems use the 5th generation NVLink chips, but next year the 6th generation chips will double in speed, and the 7th generation will have twice as many ports to support Rubin Ultra's 4 GPU design. Likewise, NVIDIA's scale-out networking solutions are set to double in speed every 2 years, which I'll get back to in a little bit. The other part of scaling up are these Bluefield data processing units. DPUs handle highly parallel workloads, like coordinating and securing network traffic and moving data between many separate chips, so that the CPUs and GPUs don't have to do that. By the way, NVLink, InfiniBand, and these Bluefield DPUs all came out of NVIDIA's $7 billion acquisition of Mellanox back in 2019, which will probably go down as one of the best acquisitions in Silicon Valley history. Anyway, these 18 compute trays go into one GB200 NVL72 system. It's called that because the GB200 superchip has 2 Blackwell GPUs on it connected via NVLink. There are 2 superchips per compute tray and 18 trays per rack. 2 times 2 times 18 equals 72 Blackwell GPUs connected by NVLink, which is why the whole system is called the GB200 NVL72 for Blackwell and the GB300 NVL72 for Blackwell Ultra. But remember, each Blackwell chip actually has 2 GPU dies on it, so it should actually be called the NVL144. NVIDIA isn't going back and fixing this naming convention for Blackwell, but that's why the next generation rack is called the Vera Rubin NVL144, even though it has the same amount of GPUs as Blackwell. Now here's where things get really crazy. Blackwell, Blackwell Ultra, and Vera Rubin all go into a rack system called Oberon. There are 2 important things investors should know about Oberon racks. First, they're entirely liquid cooled, which is why data centers are transitioning to liquid cooling for Blackwell. It's the only way to cool so many high-performance chips packed together so tightly. Around 90% of all server racks are air-cooled today, but industry estimates suggest that up to 80% of data center cooling will become direct-to-chip liquid cooling over time. That's why I also cover stocks like Vertiv, which Jensen mentioned by name during his keynote. And second, Oberon uses what NVIDIA calls a 10-9-8 configuration. 10 compute trays at the top, 9 networking trays in the middle, and 8 more compute trays on the bottom. Each of these 9 NVLink switch trays have 2 NVLink chips that connect to 4 Blackwell GPUs each. 4 ports per NVLink chip times 2 chips per tray times 9 trays is 72 NVLink ports, providing all-to-all GPU communications at an insane 130 terabytes per second.
That's the back, the DGX NVLink spine. 130 terabytes per second goes through the back of that chassis. That is more than the aggregate bandwidth of the internet. We could basically send everything to everybody within a second.
So these 9 NVLink switch trays have more total bandwidth than the entire internet today. But that's not the crazy part. The crazy part is that NVIDIA straight up deleted those trays for Rubin Ultra. In fact, the entire 10-9-8 configuration is just poof, gone. When Jensen revealed this new rack, called Kyber, I don't think anybody in the entire arena understood what we were looking at. But I really wanted to understand this huge piece of the puzzle, so I interviewed Dion Harris, NVIDIA's Senior Director of High Performance Computing and AI Factory Solutions, and I interviewed Charlie Boyle, NVIDIA's Vice President of DGX Systems. I tried including parts of each interview in this video, but there was just way too much information, so I'll be releasing them as separate podcast episodes instead. But here's what I found. As the name implies, the Rubin Ultra NVL576 has 4 times more GPUs than the Blackwell Ultra systems. The Kyber rack uses up to 600 kilowatts of power, which is 5 times more than the 120 kilowatts used by Blackwell B200 racks today. This one rack will deliver 15 exaflops of FP4 inference performance and 5 exaflops of FP8 performance for training. That means that one Rubin Ultra rack is the equivalent of 21 Blackwell systems in terms of performance. 21 times the compute per rack for 5 times the power means the Rubin Ultra racks are also 4.2 times more power efficient than Blackwell's. But to fit in so much more compute, NVIDIA had to remove the 9 networking trays and over 2 miles of cables connecting all the GPUs in each rack. Those 5,000 cables and connectors were replaced by a single 72-layer printed circuit board where each layer connects the 8 GPUs per tray to every other tray via those 7th generation NVLink switch chips at a whopping 3,600 gigabytes per second, which again would be like moving 300 90-minute 4K movies between chips every single second. And that's just one of the innovations that NVIDIA had to make to scale up their single rack performance by 21 times in just 3 years. Now let's talk about scaling out. By the way, are you starting to see why this video took me 3 tries to put together? I haven't slept in a week, and if you feel I've earned it, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. That really helps me out, and it lets me know that I should lose more sleep to make more deep dives like this. Thanks, and with that out of the way, here's what you should know about NVIDIA's scaling out. Like I mentioned earlier, NVIDIA's scale-out networking solutions are set to double in speed every 2 years. They have Spectrum-X for data centers running on Ethernet, as well as their InfiniBand optical solutions. But optics pose an interesting challenge. It turns out that for every GPU in a data center, there are 6 fiber optic transceivers. 1 cable connects each GPU to a switch, 1 for switch-to-switch connections, and a third to another GPU on the other end. That's 3 cables with a transceiver on each end, so 6 transceivers per GPU, assuming there's only 1 layer of switches between them. Each transceiver costs around $1,000 and has a 30-watt laser, which means all this optical networking equipment costs $6,000 and 180 watts of power per GPU. These transceivers don't do any math. They just turn electric signals into light and back into electric signals again. Last summer, Elon Musk's AI company, xAI, built a supercomputer called Colossus that uses 100,000 NVIDIA GPUs. That would be $600 million in optical transceivers that use 18 megawatts of power to drive the lasers. 18 megawatts is enough to power 150 Blackwell Ultra racks, which would be 21,600 Blackwell Ultra GPUs. So, to fix this problem, NVIDIA is entering the silicon photonics market with 3 different co-packaged optical network switches. The 144-port Quantum-X InfiniBand switch comes out later this year, and the Spectrum-X photonic switches come out next year for Ethernet. The special thing about these switches is they have a series of lasers, mirrors, optical interposers, waveguides, and modulators that do the work of 4 times as many transceivers. That means that connecting 576 GPUs, like from one Rubin Ultra NVL576 rack, now only needs 144 transceivers on the switch side. So now, instead of 6 transceivers per GPU, you only need 3 or 4, depending on the network. That's a huge amount of power that can go directly back to even more GPUs. For example, Elon's Colossus supercomputer would have saved 9 megawatts of power, which could have been used to scale out even further by adding more racks. And that's just one of the innovations that NVIDIA had to make to allow so much more scale-out performance across more racks, packed with more GPUs. Like I said at the start, this is my 3rd try at making this video, and one of the things I really struggled with was how to put it all together. So hopefully the 3rd time's the charm. The world is changing. We're at the very beginning of a huge AI revolution. While most people still think that generative AI is all about chatbots and funny pictures, the scientific community is using it to make more discoveries, file more patents, and build more prototypes than ever before. AI is pushing the state of the art in everything from solar panels and electric vehicles to semiconductors and the robots they power, the same exact things we're investing in. But it turns out that the world needs 100 times more compute to power all that progress, and closing that gap takes more than just better chips. It takes a fundamental rethinking of how we scale up and how we scale out our data centers, water cooling instead of air cooling, printed circuit backplanes instead of miles of cables connecting network trays, optical switches that eliminate megawatts worth of transceivers. The world is crazy, especially right now with all the tariffs and economic tensions, and I can't tell you when investing in AI is going to pay off. But hopefully this video helped you understand some of the very real progress that's getting lost in all this noise. not just in material science, but in everything from gene sequencing and drug discovery to movies and video games. Almost every industry is innovating big time thanks to generative AI. And to me, that's a future worth investing in. But NVIDIA isn't the only company making serious progress in AI. So if you want to see what other AI companies I'm investing in, make sure to check out this video next. Either way, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is ticker symbol U. My name is Alex, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in you.